was like, past it, like driving, it's like the Heiau National Park. Oh, okay. And then I kind of walked over and was like, gotta be the one that's Kawaihae. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna take my left.
Ready to go.
Well, good morning. I'd like to welcome you to Ukohola Heiau National Historic Site. My name is Greg, one of the park rangers here at the park, and we are excited that all of you are here to join us for a very special program being presented by the, here we go, the Marine Corps League Camp Tarawa Detachment number 1255 in the Waikoloa Village. And what's interesting about their stories, the things that they talk about, is that they're telling it in a place that's already rich in history. And as you're going to see as the day unfolds, that not only is the ancient history of the Hawaiian people and the acts of Kamehameha, but also in our own modern time, there were people here that did amazing things. And so they're going to share with you this morning, and I know you'll enjoy it, and I know you'll learn a lot. So take the floor. Mr. Jim Brown.
Thank you for coming. You probably don't know this, but there's a Vietnam veteran, United States Marine. I got one Purple Heart. Lucky Pierre here got two. Kathy Payton has got her own story. Her dad trained here with the 5th Marine Division. Left here with the EWO and was killed on the beach right after he hit the beach at EWO. Gentleman back there is another Vietnam veteran, United States Marine. So what you're going to be seeing is you're going to be seeing the history, our history, four of it. For the Camp Tarawa Detachment of the Marine Corps League, our primary mission of this detachment is to keep the history of the 2nd and 5th Marine Divisions that trained here during WW2 alive. The talk will be based on two divisions, the 2nd and the 5th. During WW2, the Marines put 6 divisions in the field, but we'll be just concentrating on the 2. Okay, here's how this thing is going to go. Kathy and I tag team. I'll be giving you the military overview of the Pacific Campaign fought by the 2nd, 5th Marine Divisions only. At the end of my presentation, I'll ask for questions at that point. Then we'll take a short break. Kathy will come back in and give the human interest part of the training here. So you're going to be seeing 2 entirely different segments by 2 different people. Kathy will finish up. Then we'll both take questions and answers. And then the presentation will end with tasks. The dotted line is the Japanese Empire in 1933. What did I do, Greg?
Just hit the right button on the mouse. There you go.
The dark line is the Japanese Imperial Empire in 1943. Let's start up here. You want to start with the red dot are the American possessions of December 6th, 1941. The one that's Midway, Hawaii, Samoa, Wake Island, Saipan, and the Philippines. Before we move on, the 2nd, 5th Marine Division trained here to support the strategic bombing campaign of Japan. Originally, the B-29s flew from China to Japan. Logistically, it could not have been supported because there was one road called the Burma Road from India to the air bases, and everything else had to go in by air. The Marines, the Army Air Corps needed bases so they could be logistically supported. That's why the 2nd Marine Division trained here for Saipan, Tinian, And about halfway up, yeah, is Iwo Jima. After they had taken Saipan Tinian by surprise, they went in early, surprised the Japanese. The B-29s were not the world's best bomber. They had problems. The Army Air Corps was losing too many aircraft and too many crews. The 5th Marine Division then went and took Iwo Jima so they would have emergency landing facilities, and also they could fly P-51s for air cover with B-29s. So the 2nd Marine Division, Saipan Tinian, 5th Marine Division, Iwo Jima, to support the strategic bombing of Japan. The Marines had the largest military footprint on the Big Island during WW2. First camp was on Banyan Drive, Pioneers and Shore Party. That camp was set up on December 3rd, 1943. Love that.
Okay.
She keeps me right with the dates, right? Bahakaloa, which is still active. It's an active military base. This is Camp Tarawa main side in Waimea. And right down at Haupuna Beach was old Camp Drews. Camp Tarawa was 137,000 acres. It encompassed this area all the way in here. Richard Smart. Richard Smart, on December 7th, was singing, dancing, and performing on Broadway. The last sole owner of the Parker Ranch. He joined the United States Army. The Army wanted to lease acreage for a camp, so he leased the acreage for $1 a year. Part of the lease agreement, it had to be restored back to a working cattle ranch. Am I standing in your way?
No, no. You're perfect. I'm just staring intently at you while I listen.
That's why you don't see any structures in Waimea today, because it had to be restored to a natural, cattle ranch. That's where you left off.
See, she's a lot younger than I am. I get these brain blocks. Don't get old, guys. It's terrible. So actually, it was a lot. This is the only camp that I know about, read about, that goes from sea level to 6,500 feet contiguously. We give tours, complimentary tours right now, and we go around the 42,000 acres of just one of the maneuver ranges. Waimea's up here. They were called the Waikoloa maneuver areas. There are also maneuver areas up the coast and also over Honoka'a. This is the famous Battle of Tarawa. Video. They say all of this, all these little islands, if you brought them all together, 160 acres. Video was 1 acre. The 2nd Marine Division fought here and then came to Camp Tarawa. Just to show you, this is an order of battle. You had probably 16,000 troops hitting 1 acre. The Japanese admiral in charge of Video, or Tarawa, said 1 million men would never take Tarawa in 100 years. 2nd Marine Division took it in 78 hours. This is Camp Tarawa, an overhead view after the 2nd Marine Division came here and established the camp. Morning colors at Old Camp Tarawa. We know that that picture is accurate because the only Marines to ever wear the camouflage jackets during WW2 were the 2nd Marine Division at Tarawa. Some Raider units were issued them, but for the next campaign, Saipan Tinian, they went back to the utilities, green herringbone utility. Invasion of Saipan. Kathy has actually walked the beaches, the invasion beaches at Saipan. Tinian sits up a little bit further, and that's where the Air Corps built a huge B-29 bases. Kathy, you have anything to say about the fortifications?
Only to say that we landed right here. The Japanese fortifications were so strong that they had us, you know. It's a miracle that we won, you know, because they just had us, you know, in their sights. And so I was able to kind of walk the beaches and see from the perspective of the fighting men, and then also from the hills, from the Japanese defending position. And it was really heavily defended. So we were, you know, very fortunate to win that battle.
The 2nd Marine Division came here for Saipan Tinian for 2 reasons. Number one, some of them had already been at Guadalcanal where they had relieved the 1st Marine Division, had malaria, a lot of jungle diseases. They went to New Zealand to train for Saipan Tinian. They hit Tarawa. I'm sorry, I got out of sequence. They went to New Zealand to train for Tarawa. From Tarawa, they came here for 2 reasons. Number one, to get them out of the malarial zone. And to learn to fight in the cane. There's sugar cane on both Saipan and Tinian. So that's the 2 reasons they came here. Health reasons and to learn new tactical training for fighting in the cane. The minute the 2nd Marine Division arrived, they went ahead and started their own newspaper, Tarawa. Now our detachment newsletter is named Tarawa in their honor. These are the old pyramid tents. Now I'm a Korean War vet, and we never used those. This is the type of tents that we used in Korea. Those are, what, 8-man squat tents. If you'll notice at the top, you'll see the chimneys. Each one of those.
Okay, you know what? You said those are chimneys, but I asked the guys and they said there were no stoves in there.
Well, what are those?
I don't know what they are, but I was just met with 50 guys who trained here. And I said, we have these little things sticking out of the tents. Were they chimneys? And they said, we didn't have any.
Maybe took them for
You know.
cigarette smoking.
I don't know. So, I don't know what that is, but if you know anybody that knows what those are, let us know.
It looks top secret.
Right now.
It looks
You know something that's interesting.
Because I asked them, I said, did you have little stoves in your tent? And they laughed. No, we didn't have little stoves in our tents, you know.
But you have to understand, Kathy and I were not historians. We're history buffs. So we're telling you what we think we know. And the more we talk to people, we get different interpretations, okay? So the last interpretation we had were those stoves in there, those were chimneys. Now Kathy comes in.
Yeah, so,
Okay, so now we're gonna start using that interpretation, they're not stoves. But it's funny, so many of these things happened so many years ago. Some of the memories of the different things that happened are different than actually happened. In other words, some of them are embellished, some of them are forgotten, because we're talking many, many years ago. So, you'll have to bear with Kathy. What you're hearing is what we think we know. Oh, something about the Marine Corps. I don't know if they did this in Vietnam, guys, but the first thing you do when you start a camp You line the paths with rocks and you paint the rocks white. Is it? Well,
We do that now, not where I was.
well, we did it in Korea. Marine Corps got something about painting rocks white. Okay, here's an overhead map of Cap Tarawa main side, 401 acres up in Waimea.
Can I just interject? This is Mama Maloa Highway, Mama, and this the rodeo grounds to give you kind of an idea. When you're driving into Waimea on Mama Maloa Highway, and the camp, using this as the rodeo grounds. So it kind of gives you an idea, yeah. And these are tents. These are all little tents.
Wow.
The reinforced Marine Division at that time was probably 21 to 23,000 troops.
21.
Now, if you can imagine a town of 450 people being invaded as next door neighbors by 21 to 22,000 people overnight, there had to have been a little shock there. In town, there was one telephone and one light bulb.
During this
Kathy,
time with that many
Was it
people?
over the telephone?
Yes, yes. Waimea was just a little company town for Parker Ranch. It was a Parker Ranch company town. And so, pretty primitive.
Go on business all of a sudden.
This is the original airstrip that was laid down for Cap Tarawa main site, which was up at Waimea.
Mama Maloa Highway, the rodeo grounds, so you kind of have an idea. Just so you kind of know what things are.
Now, when we get into Kathy's talk and get into Roscoe, that's where Roscoe was flown in. And that is a
That's how
story.
he arrived. That's how he arrived.
Okay, the Seabees were a very major factor in the Pacific campaign. They were the heavy construction people for the Navy. And Marines are still part of the Navy Department, so that we worked very closely with them. They did all of the heavy constructions up in the town of Waimea. They electrified the town by bringing in the power plants. They went ahead and they built the ice plant. They laid the telephone lines, paved the area. A lot of the infrastructure that's up there right now was laid down starting in 1943 by the Seabees and the engineers. This is the type of equipment that they used. None of it was hydraulic. It was all drum and cable. I talked to a cap scanner and he thinks that's probably about the size of a D4. Now we've got D9. A little aside with this, on Iwo Jima, I just read this. There's a road to the top of Suribachi. While the fighting was going on, the Seabees had trained a Camp Tarawa that went with the 5th Marine Division, built a road to the top of Suribachi. In less than 2 weeks, the Japanese had tried to do it and didn't succeed. Seabees came in and had it done in less than 2 weeks. Using old-timey equipment. Training. We think that is a picture of the Marines at Camp Tarawa going up Buster Brown. They climbed that mountain because from the base to the top, the elevation is almost the same as Mount Suribachi. And Kathy's been up there, she's climbed it.
And I want you to notice their packs. You know, that they climbed up in full gear. The rifle itself weighs about 9 pounds, and the packs maybe 50, I think. And then this heavy thing, and it's very steep, very strenuous. I wore shorts and a
I was
t-shirt.
ready to say, did you do that?
But I climbed that last February.
And I was a machine gunner, OC-31, carried the same weapon, weighed 24 pounds, not a 10-pound rifle. Okay, here's a picture of them training in the cane. The cane is burnt. That's an M6 medium tank and a squad of Marines following it.
Those
They're
are
training
Marines.
for Saipantinian. This is a very interesting weapon. It's a pack howitzer, weighs 1,900 pounds, 9 pieces. It was meant to be hauled in by mules, 9 mules, 9 pieces. The Marines liked it because they could offload it quickly from any type of a boat. A gun crew for this pack house or 75 millimeter could have it put together, set up, and firing in 3 minutes. Weighed 1,900 pounds, which is very, very light for any type of a field cannon. Very accurate, very powerful. Now, being an old infantryman, that's what you look like coming back.
Kind of dragging.
Right. Okay, these are United States Navy medical corpsmen. Medical corpsmen serve hospitals, serve aboard ship, clinics, but when they serve with the Marines, they become a special group of people. Anytime a Marine finds out that a Navy corpsman has served with the Marine Corps, number one, he can't buy a drink in a bar. He is automatically docked from that point on. Being a combat Marine, I will attest to this. So they're some of the bravest people I have ever seen in combat, period. And they are our brothers. Navy medical corpsmen were assigned to the Marine Corps for the first time, Spanish-American War, for the landing at Guantanamo Bay. So they've been with the Corps a long, long time. Old Camp Drews. Camp Drews is right down at Halfmoon Beach. 2nd and 5th Amtrak battalions trained there, 2nd for Saipan and the 5th for Iwo Jima. If you look up here on the right, you'll see the tents were right on the beach. Rivers in the ocean. Off this point here was where the scouts, snipers trained with rubber boats. So they kept the mechanized equipment away from the rubber boat people for safety. Right here I talked to Don Crane, who was with the 2nd track. They had 5 Amtraks turned over in the surf right there while they were there. What do you think of these pictures?
Amazing. Wow, they show up so well on that screen.
They're a little grainy because they're old, but,
No,
and we had to blow them up,
So
but
amazing.
you figure you can,
Okay, these are the Amtraks. This is the maintenance yard, which is up behind the beach.
behind the tents.
The Amtraks were interesting. They were developed by the Marine Corps as amphibious tractors to move material, not men. They were first used at Guadalcanal with the 1st Marine Division. 2nd Marine Division thought that they could transport troops, not only material, over the reef at Tarawa. Don Crane, who was at Tarawa, said that the hulls on these things were aluminum. You could actually take a screwdriver and punch it through the hull. And it was an experiment at Tarawa to see if they could use them to move troops. So from there on, it kept getting better and better. But he said the first ones,
And it was a disaster in Tarawa. It did not work well.
okay, now we get into some interesting stuff. This is a landing strip
Oh,
paved,
Upolo.
Upolo, that is still used by general aviation. Now, I had heard that there were aircraft carrier decks painted on that blacktop. So thank God for Google, because I started looking around and I finally found the picture of the aircraft carrier decks. The way that strip is lined up, it's lined up right with the trays, so they can simulate carrier takeoffs and landings. Perfect situation. It's still up there.
I don't think that, the markings are still there, but the airfield is.
Okay, thanks to Richard Stevens, your instructor, who told us about these bunkers, and they're right up the coast. We had an opportunity to go in and look around. Now, these are these are not coastal defense bunkers. These had to be used for fire control. Up the coast is what they call a bombing range. We do know the first time that rockets were used for close air support, training was done here. So we feel, okay, we don't know anything for sure about these bunkers, that there were spotters inside these two bunkers that would actually call in the rounds as the rockets and the bombs would drop. Gives you a little feel for the size of them. They were not very big.
Yes.
What would you say inside, Richard? About 8 by 8?
About that, you know.
I was gonna say, you can always
Very,
spot Richard.
very tight.
You know, she spotted Richard's
I go,
hat.
there's
Yeah.
Richard. I live for that hat every time.
Famous hat.
Yes.
Okay, let's give you a size of, that's a blast shield. That
I
aperture
think that is.
is facing south. The other one is, on the other bunker is facing east.
Did
So
you get to go in?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Do we get to go in?
No, we can't. Parker Ranch is really stringent. Stringent about it.
If you want to go, I can get you in.
Okay.
We can set it up.
Bunker tour, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, we should do a bunker tour
There's-
and a Palolo Valley.
That sounds
We
good.
could do a whole day, just doing the you know, Kohala Coast
Mhm.
and do that, because there are some Amtrak's in Palolo Valley.
Again, a mystery.
Oh, you'll hear that story
Oh,
later.
what's down there?
That's one of my
She's
stories.
jumping ahead of herself here.
I'll think with the wall,
Oh,
Pardon?
look at that. Get up and take a look at
though.
the thing.
30 feet.
Wow,
Now,
that's where I want to be.
look how, you know, all this was done with evidently plywood. The finish certainly wasn't all that good, but that's poured reinforced concrete. And they're still there, and they're gonna be there a long time. They're gonna be there with the pyramids. Everybody hates graffiti. This is the graffiti that's inside of one of the bunkers. We would like to know who these folks are so we can figure out exactly who built them and why they were there. Other than that, we're guessing. So, like I say, everybody hates graffiti, but I just wish that they would have been a little bit more,
Yeah,
you know.
wrote their life story on the.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is the 5th Marine Division loading San Diego to come to the Big Island, Camp Tarawa, and I swear that's the same dock and the same ship that I went to Korea on. Now, we know this guy right here. That's Mike Keats. If you have never been aboard a troop ship, you have never lived.
Okay, 1, 2,
5 deep.
2, 3, 4, 5.
5 deep. Now, you want to be on top, because if you're on the bottom and the guy's above you are seasick, it ain't a pretty sight.
Was that according to,
Pardon?
was that according
Oh,
to?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shoot.
I think that, yeah.
Okay, this is fire control party that directed fire from Navy ships offshore. And there's one officer, I talked to him on the phone, that's Marvin Baroni, he's a naval officer. And if you look at the expression on his face, I asked him, I said, you just didn't like Marines or did you have a bad day?
What do you say?
He just laughed, I can't remember. Okay, this is Iwo Jima. That is Motoyama 1, and this is Suribachi. This is a map that we received out of Florida. A gentleman by the name of Carl Croach called me on the phone about 5 years ago and said, I was in operations, I have an operational training map that we used for the invasion of Iwo Jima. Would you like to have it? And I said, oh yeah, sure. Where we are sitting is right down here. This is a footprint of part of the island of Iwo Jima superimposed on a map of the Kahala coast. So you could tell what they would do, they'd march down, line up on the beaches, and move inland. That's Camp Drews. The only difference was they added one more beach, Green Beach 1, I think it was here, moved everybody that way. But that map we feel is accurate and it's probably one of a kind in the world. So nobody would save an operational training map. Order of battle, here again, Okayama, and the divisions that hit the beach.
These are the divisions that trained here, 27th and 28th. 23rd, 25th trained on Maui.
Now we know that that operational training map has got to be correct. One of our members, Herb Blum, checked this as the operational map against the training map. All the grid lines line up. Here's B-29 that came into Iwo. That's B-51. That's a B-29 with a B-51 Mustangs flying overhead air support. Okay, now we're going to take a break. Any questions to this point?
Motoyama Strip, that became Henderson Airfield after we.
I don't